Well, look, it's this is like an octopus, you know. You've got radical Islam, you've got, and I'll just give some examples on that. A friend, like, you know, we all know that the Islamics, the communists have infiltrated the Catholic, the mainstream Christian churches in this country for a long time. But over in the Middle East, they've been infiltrating the Islamic seminaries since the 1930s. And they have been using the radical Islamic movement as a battering ram against the West. The Russians, the Soviets, actually established the Palestine Liberation Organization, the anti-Israeli terrorists. The number 2 guy in Al-Qaeda was trained by the KGB. You know, the Taliban is as much Maoist as it is Muslim. But you never hear this kind of stuff. They are working together hand in glove. So you've got the United Nations out here, you've got the Russians there, the Chinese there, the Iranians, and they're all working on your country in various ways. Economic, through drugs, through terrorism, through espionage, you name it. You know, because this country is the number 1 enemy. And so what was the other question?
2016.
Yeah, 2016. You know, I watched that movie and it was very well produced. They did a great job of it. I think it was like if they did a movie about what I was saying here now, probably most people couldn't watch it. You know, honestly, because you're Tea Party folk and you have a background in this kind of stuff. So it's not quite as far-fetched and way out to you guys. But 2016 was about as much as most people could stomach, I would have thought. And that should have raised a lot of... Anybody going to see that who's a concerned citizen should be, you know, be pretty worried. So I think he's done a great job of it. It's doing a great service. But I think one day somebody's got to do a movie on just how bad this guy is or was. You know, this guy is totally connected to Marxist, communist, socialist, radical, Islamist. He is the first anti-American president. Absolutely.
But he means well.
He means well, yeah. He means well if you're a Russian. Yeah. Yes,
Do you know the author of Abomination?
Yeah, Jerry Corsi.
What do you think? Was he accurate on a lot of...
Yeah, well, Jerry used a lot of my stuff, you know, originally. I'm not boasting, but he used, you know, a lot of my original material.
It sounds like a lot of your material.
Yeah, and it's very accurate, you know. And that was sort of written about 2008. We were just really digging the dirt, you know. We're just ploughing the field, and there's a lot more come out since then. But yeah, what's in there is pretty accurate. I couldn't see anything wrong with it. Yes, sir.
What would you attribute the bias in the media to? Would it be indoctrination in the 60s through the universities, or would it be payoff from George Soros?
Well, look, there's several factors, and you're right. Like, see, in the old days, journalists in this country used to be trained on the job. You know, they'd go out, they were like apprentices, and they'd go out and cover the ball games and the court cases and the county fairs. They were normal Americans with normal American values. But since the 1940s, the Marxists basically took over they started training journalists in the universities and the journalism schools. And the Marxists took them over, just as they took over the teachers' training colleges and the theological seminaries, the points of influence. If all the journalists were trained on the job all over the country, they couldn't get at them. But if they get them together in a journalism school, they've got them. So there's that element. Like 80% of this country's journalists self-identify as liberals. And that's certainly not the proportion in the general population. The other factor is there are actually communists, like bad guys in there. They discovered in 2009, they revealed the Juno List scandal. There was 400 prominent journalists colluding together on a big email list to blacken the name of Sarah Palin and promote Mr. Obama. And that was people involved with the Washington Post, New York Times, The Nation, and several of those people were involved with Democratic Socialists of America, a Marxist group. Several of them were linked to the Institute for Policy Studies, the most radical think tank in the United States, long-term links with both the KGB and Cuban intelligence. So there's those sides of it. The other fact, George Soros has been pumping a lot of money in, absolutely, and Media Matters and organisations like that. And there's the other factor. that we don't often talk about. We all know that the Boston Globe and the New York Times and the Washington Post, they're all struggling. They're all losing revenue. They're all on the bones of their backside. But Mr. Obama has promised all of them that if he gets re-elected, they're going to get an auto industry type bailout. They're going to get federal funding in the interest of keeping the media open and balanced. There's going to be state funding of newspapers. Now, do you think they are going to criticise the president who's going to save their bacon? Not only that, they'll try and get him re-elected. You know,
We have the Blaze. We have the Blaze now.
Yeah, we have the Blaze. Well,
Thank God.
well, what if we didn't have Breitbart, the Blaze, and all that? We've got to be thankful for that, because that's where our source of news. Breitbart, you know. Yes, ma'am.
My biggest concern is even if we win the election, the time between the election and January 20th.
Lamed up period, yeah.
Yeah, I'm worried about what Obama will do in that.
Yeah, and I haven't got any ready answers for that. I just think, you know, you've got to have a very strong. Yeah, it is a big problem, you know, because he could get treaties signed, he could do all sorts of things, wreck the economy, pull the plug, do anything he wants, and he probably will try and do stuff like that. So you've got to have. This is why, you know, Romney has got to have a strong base of support. You've got to have another 10 Jim DeMints in the Senate, and another 20 Michelle Bachmans and Alan West in the Congress, to give the future government some spine to challenge these people. We can't have any more Boehners and Cantors. No, they've got to be out of it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've got to have fighters. This is a time of crisis. You know, it really is. We've got to have fighters in there, not go along to get alongs. No, not at all.
Right.
Lee, take a couple more questions. And
All right, I would like to take this into another direction for a minute. All of us here have been highly affected by what we've heard. But let me ask you, how can you take what you learned tonight and take it to your family, your friends, your neighbors, and explain it to them in a succinct way where they would really understand it? Trevor contributed highly to a DVD called Agenda: Grinding Down America. Correct?
Yep.
All right. The first time I heard him, I bought that DVD. I took it home and watched it, and then I started having movie night on Friday night or Sunday nights in my home. Folks, this is the way you can take what he's sharing, where you don't have to remember the details, get a hold of the DVD and invite your friends, your relatives, and your family in. Starting the first Sunday night in October till the election, we're going to be doing it again in our home. Bonos have done it.
yeah,
Others,
yeah.
and I know that it's not easy to get because you don't have any left, but Trevor, if we could get some more of those and have people invite their friends in, I think that we can at least affect some folks.
Look, there are hundreds of thousands of those going around this country. I'm talking, I don't know, it's hundreds of thousands. It's the best DVD I've ever seen. For, you know, you've all got friends who know there's something wrong, but they don't know what. And they care about the country, but they don't know what the problems are. And that's a great thing for showing to your friends from church or just your buddies, your drinking buddies or whatever. Sit them down, put them through that, and by the end of it, their jaws will all be dropping.
And
You know,
they should
it's
also, Trevor, which is what I've done, is I've given it to all of my elected officials.
Yeah.
Mostly all of them. And then I ask them if they watched it.
Trevor, do
Yeah.
you think Curtis would give them to me like COD?
Oh, absolutely you would, yeah.
Now,
I actually met Curtis's mother in Florida last night. You call him. Just the other thing, what I've got there, I've got copies of my book, which is 700 pages, but it's like an encyclopedia. You don't have to read it from beginning to end. If you want to read about Valerie Jarrett, you read about Valerie Jarrett. You want to read about the chapter about Van Jones, you read Van Jones. I've got some little DVDs there, which are the copies of the speech I gave tonight, but done in Denver. So this is a speech I gave tonight, plus a few other things, which can be quite useful. There's a little monograph I did there on Alice Palmer, so the Palmer thing's $5, the DVD's $10, the books are $35, And that is a DVD done by a friend of mine from Czechoslovakia. He now lives in Chicago, and he used to work in the Czech Communist President's office as a journalist. It is basically how the KGB faked or managed the dissolution of communism in Eastern Europe. And when you see that, you will understand what's happening in the world today, because they were under huge pressure from Reagan, and they staged a strategic defeat, a strategic retreat, with the intention of coming back stronger when the times were right. So there's some good stuff there, but if you can get hold of Agenda through Lee or someone else, that is a brilliant that's a brilliant DVD to show your friends.
Somebody
And
asked what the
educate
name
yourself.
of it was again. Can you repeat the name?
Agenda Grinding America Down. Now you can get it off the internet too. It's got a website, but Agenda Grinding America Down. But it's gone all around Tea Party groups all over the country. Take one last question, ma'am.
Do you think the International Baccalaureate program that they push through the schools is socialist program?
Well, it's very pro-United Nations, and it's very pro the values of the United Nations. So look, the United Nations is controlled by Russia and China. It's always been controlled by the communists. So it's being used, in my opinion, to indoctrinate the smartest kids in the world into the values of world, community, world sharing, United Nations type values. And in my country, a lot of because my education system is so terrible, that the smart people usually try and get their kids into a baccalaureate program so they can get indoctrinated at a higher level. I'm not a fan of it, no, because of those reasons. Is that your feeling on it?
It was. My daughter was in it last year, and I didn't even like hearing the teachers. It drove me nuts.
Yeah.
And I was arguing with the teachers all the time, and I found pull her out.
It's not something to teach your children to be patriotic Americans with, that's for sure.
I found more undoing when she got home from school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So though the academic standards are high, which is good, the message is terrible, in my opinion. So I support your views on that. But yeah, sorry.
As Lee was saying, we also had people come to the house and show them the agenda.
Okay.
They were stunned, shocked. These are young families.
Yeah.
So the parents came, they had babysitters, because we have to reach the younger generation. They don't understand what's happening
No.
because they're busy raising their families, working and being
We
involved
also
with their
showed
children.
it.
Yeah.
We
Well,
also
that is-
showed it at our Tea Party.
Yeah.
My last statement is when they left, they didn't want them to feel like they had no hope, because people do feel that way.
Yeah.
They want to know, what do we do? What can we do?
What they can do is go to their school board. Now listen, this is our problem here. How many people know who's on the school board in Martin County? My goodness gracious, look at this. This is, really, it's pathetic. I mean, Michael Busha is a proponent of globalization. We actually vetted him. Jackie will tell you what he is. He sits on the school board. You know anything about him? Well, let me tell you something. What she just said is what it's about. We will not change until we change local, state, and federal. Yeah, we got to get rid of Obama. But until we get rid of, we know who's on our school board. All those children are being taught globalization. Today, when I was at the Y spinning, a friend of mine who has 5 children said to me, Cindy, what is this globalization that my kids are learning? Hello?
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
don't think it's about
really, find out who's on the school board. Start going to those and go to your commissioners' meetings.
Look, yeah, that's exactly right. No matter what you do in this country, if you don't sort out education, it's gone.
That's right.
That ultimately, we got an election right in front of us, which is crucial. But the long-term thing is education, and you guys can affect your school boards at every level and what your children are learning, homeschool them or whatever. But don't let the state get their clutches on them, because it isn't the same education you guys went to school with. Not at all. They come out of school, they can't read or write, but they know all about the United Nations and sustainable development and Gaia and whatever they want to, whatever they need to learn. So I just want to say to you, folks, I'm here for 8 months this year. I'm just going around all around Tea Party groups promoting the message to get people aware, but also to encourage them, because you need to know from the outside that you're doing the right stuff. And that's the most important thing I have to say. You are doing the right stuff. You're on the right track. You made huge impact. You need to pat yourself on the back, but you need to keep going. Keep this thing going on. You know, this is a long-term battle. But so if anybody wants books or anything, I'm available to sign them. They fund my tours around the country, and they're very educational. I stand by them. But I just want to say it's a real honour to be here. It's wonderful to be with people like Shona and Cindy and Gloria and Dennis and all the other friends I've made around here. I know more people in Florida now than I know in Christchurch. I really do. And I want to bring my kids back to this state next year for a holiday in free America.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to thank you very much.